All right.
I'm gonna go on and do gymnastics.
Have fun, sweetie. Welcome. Welcome, replay viewers. Those of you joining in live, risking the creepers. Let's hope we don't have too many to deal with. All right. Hi, Karen. All right, I'm going to flip this around. This in front of you is my blog, and what I'm going to be talking about today can be found if you search for first grade on my blog. I actually have typed up what we are doing in first grade. Hello, Deshelle. All right. Not the Jenny that lives here with me in Raleigh. It's good to see you, Jenny. It's been a while. All right. I don't know. I feel like I appear really dark. I might switch real quick. Okay, this might be better. Oh yeah, now I'm much lighter now. It's good to see you. I know a lot of people are kind of taking breaks from Periscope and trying just to watch things through Catch and stuff like that, because I know there's been a lot of creepy accounts. I am trying not using hashtags and seeing if that helps, because I understand that people search for these things on Twitter using the hashtags, so maybe by not using hashtags it'll help. I don't know, we'll see. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, when I moved I left all my books over at the old spot. So I am Mary. Hi, Luna. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4 kids. They are 13, 11, 9, and 6, and today I am focusing on the 6-year-old. All of the information I'm sharing today can be found on my blog at notbefore7.com. That's what I was showing. Hi, Lila. And, oh, boo to the hashtag thing. I just figured you were like peekaboo, like that kind of thing. Oh, good. Well, I'm excited to share it. I'm just going to focus on first grade today. And I know that's one thing homeschool moms like. And I know this is the time of year where we're all kind of starting to think about next year, even though I'm trying to stay focused on the 2 months I want to have solid of this year. You do start the wheels turning, kind of wondering, oh, what will we try next year? And what do I want to change? So I thought I would share first grade. If you have to leave early, no explanation needed. Just head on to your life. That's fine. This will be on Catch. And again, all of this information's on my blog. So first grade. This is the 4th time I have taught first grade. And it probably hasn't changed a whole lot. The kids are all probably doing similar things. Oh, first grade's so fun. I love these early and elementary years. So, of course, I want to emphasize that while we're going to talk about like the seat work and academics, first grade in my house looks like a lot of creative play. In fact, right now, my first grader is downstairs playing geotracks with his siblings. They have built a huge train track in the basement. Oh, good. So glad so many people have first graders. And they are just playing trains. And they probably did that for about an hour and a half this morning while I was on the treadmill and then showering and getting ready. And he spends a lot of his day in creative play. So first grade around here looks like a lot of freedom to do Legos, to do Play-Doh. What did I write down here? Skateboarding, bike riding, running. I try to do as many field trips as I can. Now, at this point, I have to balance having a 13-year-old, where when my 13-year-old was in first grade, I didn't have to do that balance. So when my 13-year-old was a first grader, on any given day, if an opportunity came up outside of our house, I always ditched the seat work and went on it. If you have that freedom in your house right now, because your oldest is your first grader, I say take advantage of it. That is my personal advice. That's what I did. But yeah, these days I have a 13-year-old and then I have down to a 6-year-old. So she does have some things to keep up with. I still try to take advantage of field trips as much as possible, but we probably limit ourselves more to like, 1 to 2 a month, big field trips. And then I just try to protect our mornings. I don't have a napper anymore, so that helps. And we can leave the house pretty much any day by 1 or 1:30 and know that we can then go and I can have her done. You can ask me something if it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate to the conversation because I don't recognize your name, I'm just cautioning you that you'll be removed from the conversation. All right, so I just want to emphasize that it's a lot of creative play, and it is a lot of field trips, outdoor, nature. As much as possible, we like to get out and about. But most people are interested too in knowing what we're doing for the seat work. So let's talk about seat work. Seat work is pretty basic with my first grader. Of course, the biggest thing in first grade is phonics. So this is what I have used now for 3 kids. It is boring, but it gets the job done for me. This is the Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Reading. So I found this. My first daughter did the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. It was fantastic for her. She was reading immediately. She was an early reader. And then my second child came along, and the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons just wasn't working. Yeah, Lila, it gets the job done. And so we went to this because it moved slower. It was a little more methodical. I, just like everything else in my homeschooling world, I don't do it the way it says to. It says that with every lesson that you're doing, I'm wondering who these people are that are just inviting 1 or 2 people. That has me a little interested, but I'm hoping they are appropriate. It's not looking like it. So I'm going to go ahead and block the people that are just inviting 1 or 2 people. What it says is each time you go to do a lesson, it says to do 2 review and 1 new. That would be really difficult for me to constantly be reviewing. I hope I didn't just block someone who I wasn't supposed to. Okay, yeah, I don't have any dyslexia in the house, so I'm speaking with kids that while I've had late readers, I have not had anyone have reading issues. So we don't have any learning disabilities in that way. I do have a daughter who would qualify for help in public schools for spelling, writing, and math. And she was a late reader, but we don't have dyslexia or anything like that. So if you do, then if you do have that sort of thing going on, then you have to consider that. So yeah, reading disability is a whole other issue, and as much outside help as you can get involved that you feel necessary, I think that is a fantastic way to go. We did go through a lot of testing with my one daughter with concerns about her writing and spelling. And if you have reading concerns, I am all for checking that out if you think something is going on. For my second daughter, it was just that she was a late reader. She really didn't do it until about age 9. And you know what? The wand really didn't exist, Jenny, when I had kids young enough. I mean, now I have a first grader and I could do the wand, but because I have a kid in the boomerang and a kid in the arrow, it's just too much for me. I would have loved it when my first kid was in first grade. But we have just been sticking with this. They have a basic lesson. I don't even read all this. I kind of go over the sound with my child and then help them with the words. Pretty much we take it slow enough that they're at the point they're just kind of reading the words to me. I've heard great things about phonics pathways. There are so many good things out there. What I have found is whatever you choose, if you're consistent and gentle, then it works. This program is Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Reading. So we don't do this every day. We maybe do 2 or 3 times a week, if that. At this point, he's taken a really huge leap in his reading. We could probably not do this ever again and he'd be fine, but we'll go ahead and keep coming back to it. He likes how confident he feels now reading these pages to me. I won't skip ahead. I won't worry about that. I have no problem having him just feel really confident and me making sure that I am hitting all of the different phonics sounds. That's what I liked about this one, is that it had all the digraphs and everything. So enough on phonics. Oh, I will say the other thing we do is we keep around lots of other books like the Bob books. This was one we found one time. There's a whole series of these, the American language series. And he got to a point in the Teach Your Child to Read that it was getting too hard. So we took a break and we just started at the beginning of these. And he was feeling really good again. It just has little pictures and stuff like that. So we keep around just any kind of stuff. At this point, and I've shared this on my book scopes, he loves Cork and Fuzz. Yeah, it's really smart just to keep around easy readers. And he sits at night now and he has discovered, like, I know enough words that I can read myself books at night. It's very hard to get him to go to sleep these days. So this is about where he is at this point. So he's more on the, I don't know if it's, I hate using the word normal. He's probably in the more typical path of reading at 6 years old. My second child could not have read this in first grade. It probably was taking her to about third grade before she would attempt a book like this. So I think it's just really different for every kid. And the biggest thing is consistently going back to the phonics book, keeping a lot of literature around and reading to them a lot, as much as you can. I mean, you know, some weeks are better than others. So that is the big thing I would say about phonics. We read a lot out loud to him too. Right now we're on Harry Potter book 3. And he has that every night to look forward to too. So that is what I have found works really well for teaching reading. It's just continuing to immerse yourself in literature, whether it's being read to you or you're being trained to read it, and just to keep going. So I just want to say to everyone that I did have a child not read well till third grade. And she finally in 5th grade is doing like American Girl books and things like that. So just keep at it. Don't freak out. Don't get hyper, because that can be difficult too. Okay, IEW PAL, there's another one. So there's so many to look into. Oh, Chantel, I would love one that uses poetry. We do a lot with poetry, obviously. But our phonics program hasn't done it. First language lessons does, but our phonics program doesn't. All right, if you look on my, I'll have to look up Charlie Bone. If you look on my blog, you will find that for handwriting, what I was doing is he and I were just, I was writing something. I'm glad it's a relief. And he was just copying it. But I found that that was getting too much for me to keep track of, as much fun as it was. So I went back to our classic handwriting without tears. Open it each day, copy the letters. He's actually fairly good at writing and spelling, at least compared to the two that have come before him. So this just has, what I like about handwriting without tears is it has blocks. So it helps with the sizing of the letters. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of people vouching for handwriting without tears. And we just went away from it and we're back. So like today he did the S. So it really, really just helps. Oh, there's a lovely backwards one. Very typical in first grade. No stress here. But it really helps with the sizing. So I like handwriting without tears. And tomorrow he will add the S's on the end of these words. How do you know where to start? Okay, and that's the other thing. I don't buy the whole handwriting without tears system because they have like these wood blocks and they have the slate boards. And I'm sure that stuff is all really fun. Hi, Melanie, by the way. It's just too much for me. But if you have a kid who handwriting is they're having a hard time, then those slate boards and all of the wooden blocks to make the letters might be really helpful and be very tactile. But they have a book before this one. It's orange. I think it's called Letters and Numbers for Me. And that was the kindergarten book. And then this is, yeah, you can get just the workbooks. Oh, there's an app. You know, and there's another really great app we use for handwriting. Oh, I would have to look it up, where you trace the letters on the app and like they would turn into like a lawnmower and then the lawnmower would follow it. I can't remember it. Is my iPad close? Oh, my iPad's right here. This was an awesome handwriting app. Let's see if I can find it on here.
Oh, Letter School?
Letter School. Is that what it was called, Kaylee? Letter School? I'm seeing if it's on here. Okay, well, apparently there's one called Letter School. I won't sit here trying to find it again. I'm not finding it. But I think it was called, yes, you first like trace it and then you connect the dots and then it turns into something. So Letter School. All right, so that was it for handwriting. I trace modern day, you know. I guess because this is my last kid in first grade, I haven't even thought to look at all these great apps because we're just kind of doing what we've done before and not updating it a whole lot. But Letter School was a good one. So that's his handwriting. Yeah, Melanie, I guess by the time you get to the last one, you're just kind of doing what you know. I don't have, where's his Explode the Code? I think everyone knows about Explode the Code. Oh, here it is. All right. Did you make them memorize? I didn't make them memorize a song. And to be quite honest, by the time we started Ordinary Parents Guide, all my kids just knew the consonants and their sounds. So we never even did the lessons on consonants. I just did that myself through handwriting, and I waited till they have that. Bye, Karen. And then I started into Ordinary Parents Guide. So I didn't even bother with the consonants. I just did that myself through handwriting and other things. Yes, Explode the Code. My 6-year-old is on book 2. I think technically in Sunlight, book 1, 2, and 3 are first grade. I don't know. I don't worry about any of that stuff. We're moving along at our pace, and wherever we are, we are. This kind of counts to me as spelling. And I'll be honest, if there's a lot of writing on one day, like on this one, there was a whole lot of writing. If he says, oh, do I still have to do handwriting? I typically say, no, you don't. So to me, if you've had to write all these words out and Explode the Code, you don't need to do handwriting that day. Now, if he doesn't complain about it and he wants to go on and do his handwriting, then that's fine. That's great. We're getting more done. But as soon as he starts to look a little defeated, that's not the point. So I typically say that's fine. Now, I'll tell you something funny we've done, and this started with my first child. I don't know why, but every time we get to I think it was to make it more fun, the yeses and no page where they have to read the sentence and say yes or no, we always made it a game. And so, especially when a kid's kind of putting their head down, I always say, okay, which are you? Are you yeses or no? Don't look ahead. And they pick, if they're yeses or nos. And then at the end, we tally them up and we see, did mommy win or did they win? And sometimes if other people are in the room, they pick, oh, I want to be yeses. Oh, I want to be nos. And we kind of see who wins. And on this page where it's top and bottom, we do the same thing. Okay, you pick top, I pick bottom, and let's see who wins. And honestly, I think it's the silliest thing, but I'm now my 4th child, and every single one of them has liked playing yes and no and top and bottom. And it makes it more motivating. And those are typically on the same, opposite. That's really fun too. Oh, I'm going to try that, Lila. Because typically these show up on the same 2-page spread, and so you can get them both done in one day if you play a game and make it fun, because then the next day, it's always writing the words. And that's kind of a boring, the test day. So it's kind of fun to just think fun before that. Opposite day is brilliant. So we will definitely try that. So that is kind of the core of his seat work. Let's see if I forgot anything. Yeah, phonics, spelling, handwriting is kind of the core of his seat work. In terms of writing, you saw the handwriting. He does participate in Free Write Friday. Let me show you what that looks like for a 7-year-old to participate in our Free Write Friday. I keep all of the Free Write folders in the same little magazine rack. So these are our Free Write folders are in here with some Draw Right Nows. Though nobody ever gets those out. I should probably get rid of them. But this is his. No problem, Lila. I know. I'm kind of talking on. This is his. We decorated this probably a year and a half ago when we started it. And so during Free Write, he typically draws a picture while everyone else is free writing. And then after everyone's done free writing, I come back with him and I let him dictate to me about his picture. So this one says, morning story. I crashed and I learned how to drive, and I drived to the gas station. Then I drived back. Then I ate M&Ms. And he wrote that on November 7th of 2013. So that was actually, wow, are these 3 years old? Yeah, almost. In November, they'll be 3 years old. So that's what he does. So let's get to some that are more recent, because obviously we've been doing this for a long time. So as he's gotten older, yeah, it's a fun day. We did ornaments. The kids all picked an ornament off the tree, and he picked his baby's first ornament, and he drew it, and they were to write a story, and they all ended up instead writing poems. This was like an activity. I don't even know if this was a free write. This might have been a writing activity in the Arrow Guide, but then I wrote his. My first ornament, I love it so much. Small, cute, nice to have around. I love it. And I love the Free Write Friday, because this notebook will be in my possession forever. I love these. Candy Juice Mine. This was one of Julie's free write assignments where you had to create a room that wasn't in the chocolate factory, Willy Wonka the chocolate factory. You had to imagine another one, and he imagined a candy juice mine. So he drew this while we were free writing, and then I wrote all about his. So I just wanted to show you how that looked. Oh, it kept going on to the next page. For a 7-year-old to participate in Free Write Friday. We do not do it every Friday. We don't even do it every week. It's kind of something that comes and goes, that hits us. My oldest does it every week because I do it in her writing class that I teach with her and the other student in there. They're standalone. So if you go to Julie's website, bravewriter.com, and you look at the blog and you search for Free Write Friday, she posts a prompt on there every Friday. So it's very easy. Yeah, you know, Melanie, I'm not like a writing teacher, but I offered to teach writing for a friend this year, and I'm actually using Write Shop to do that and modifying it a whole lot with my Brave Writer stuff. But it was what we had agreed to do. So that's how I include him in Free Write Friday. If we, oh, I didn't know that. Do you do Write Shop, or do you just have your own thing that you're doing and teaching writing also? Interesting. Okay, so, oh, okay, another Write Shop user. I like Write Shop, but that's a different topic. When I talk about my 13-year-old, we can talk about Write Shop. And then basically for history and science, he just does what we're all doing. We've always done history and science together, each to their own level. This year we're doing Exploring Creation. The Apologia series is not necessarily my favorite. It gets the job done. It's a little too textbooky for me. I've shared actually how I've modified these, and we do some really fun stuff with it. It is way over my 6-year-old's head. I mean, way over. Jenny, I'm going to do all of the kids. Hopefully this week I'll just do every grade. So he just listens and participates. He does all the craft days with us. I'm trying to do some simple stuff to include him too. So what I typically do is rely on the library, and whatever's going on in this book, I just get an easier reader to read with him. And because, I mean, we're family and we're homeschooling, typically the other kids are around when I read it, and it's a nice review for them. Because these simple readers take the ideas in here and they really boil it down. Honestly, Apologia says these are for K through 6th. The anatomy one has been really heavy. I think the animal ones would probably be more fun for younger kids, but they're pretty deep too. There's like the swimming creatures and the flying creatures. I don't know because I've never done them. We've only done botany, astronomy, and the anatomy. But I actually really like the Real Science for Kids program too, but that's not until you're like 2nd and 3rd grade. So I just think really great books and trips. If I didn't have older kids that I had to be addressing, I would probably just pick oh, I should look into that. I would probably just pick a topic like anatomy. And then if my oldest was in 1st grade, then I would probably just go to the library and do a different system every 2 weeks. And Pinterest is full of ideas and information, and you could just do experiments from Pinterest and go to a lot of great science museums. Around here, they have a summer program called Science in the Summer, and it's a free week-long camp. It is amazing. They do enough science in that 1-week camp, but I think it's only in North Carolina. It's in another state, and then it's in the greater Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area. So you can look up Science in the Summer and see if it's in your area. Oh, how often do I hit science in a week? I tend to alternate. I focus on science 1 week and history the next. Then science, then history. And that's worked well because we get together with a friend to do the science experiments every other week. So that's the week I focus on science. And then the next week I focus on history. And I try to make it line up. We get together with other friends every 3 or 4 weeks to do history. And so I just try to kind of make it line up. And so alternating has worked for me. 1 year, what I really loved is we did science from September to December, mid-August to December, and then we did history from January to April. And that worked really well. It didn't work out this year because of friends and them wanting to do things, and you have to coordinate with them as well. So I've had to do it all year. But if I could go back, I would again pick to do science for 1 semester and focus on that every day or every week. And then in the spring, a block schedule of sorts. And then in the next semester, do history the whole time. I actually really liked that. So I might go back and do that for next year. Welcome back. And then I was going to say, same thing happens with history. Yeah, like a term, like they do in high school where you have, and college where you have your semester. I just last year thought of our homeschool in semesters, and we did science one semester and history the other. And honestly, we got enough done in that semester. It easily counted for the year. We made it through the entire Story of the World 2, going from January to the end of April. And in science, we made it through the entire Apologia astronomy book, going from September to December. So to me, that's a year's worth of work, and we just covered it in a semester because we weren't focusing on the other subjects. So we could just put all of our time into one. I actually liked that. I'm thinking about that again next year. I don't know how it will work. Yeah, block scheduling is great. History, we do Story of the World. It's really dropped off. We're in Story of the World 3. I guess last year I actually did Story of the World 2. I did Story of the World 3 this year. We're in the 30s in the chapters, and it's kind of fallen off to the wayside. It's not working for our family anymore. We did do the colonial time period. What else do you do that with? Do you mean Story of the World? I'm going to show you my colonial stuff that we loved. I don't know what you mean. What else did I do that with? Because the comments... I just did history and science. We do math and language arts year round, but I only did a semester of history, a semester of science. It would be cool to focus. My one daughter has asked that I focus more on art next year. I didn't do a great job with that this year. So that would be something else that maybe I would do a semester of art and really help me mentally focus on art for a semester, and then maybe do a semester of the orchestra. I haven't done the orchestra with my first grader. And all of my older girls did the orchestra in first grade and kindergarten. So it would be nice to get back to that. So I'm kind of considering that for next year, and I would do that in a block. So maybe the fall would be science and art, and then the spring we would really focus in on music and history. So for history this year, we actually did... what's the orchestra? Like just to focus in on all the different instruments in the orchestra, the string section and the percussion. There's a great book called Story of the Orchestra, and it introduces kids to all the different families of instruments in the orchestra. And then you could take a field trip to hear the orchestra, which we used to love to do at least once or twice a year. And things kind of cycle. But that's what we did with the orchestra. And then some basics of classical music. There are really great CDs for classical music for young kids, like the Classical Kids CDs. We own a bunch of those. CC, that's actually who we did it with, CC. Yeah, I didn't mean a curriculum. Okay, yeah, gotcha, Jenny. I just meant like I put my own thing together. We did it with CC when we did it, and then different composers. So, that's so nice. Yeah. So if you kind of talk about the music and the organ, they can have more of an appreciation for it at church when they hear it. So we had the little Einsteins, Welcome to the Orchestra or Learn the Orchestra CD. The Classical Kids CDs are awesome. We own a few of those. There was another one that was put out because I still sing. I can't sing. I can't believe I'm going to sing this. But is it Mystero Classics? It was Tchaikovsky wrote a great ballet. Its name was Swan Lake. That's from, I think, the Maestro's Classics. I think that might be it. But they take popular classical pieces and they put words to them so that you'll remember them. And I can still sing some of those. I don't sing well, but I can sing them. I'm not in CC anymore. So, all right, first grade history. We did one of the Homeschool in the Woods. We actually really enjoyed this. I don't have experience with Mystery of History. I do own 3 volumes, and I've kept them around because I tend to get bored of things and thought, well, when we cycle back to the beginning of time, I'm not going to do Story of the World again. I get bored. So I've kept my Mystery of History someone gave me to do. But we really liked this, and this was fun for my 7-year-old too. He made those. Beethoven's Wig. That was awesome. It has music with words. But this was like a whole lot book. This really is easily a semester's worth of work. in this lap book, all about colonial houses, colonial life. Ah, the election, that's brilliant. Maybe that's how I could finish out this year, the election one. This was fantastic. So this was very hands-on. There's so many activities, you can't possibly do them all, which was nice because it was engaging and educational enough for my 13-year-old. But also my 6-year-old could participate in the fun activities, and so he was learning a lot too. But I do the same thing for him for history. We're trying to finish up Story of the World, somewhat strong. But I just get him easy readers from the library on whatever we're doing. Oh, that was huge. That colonial life thing took us months. Honestly, we were debating just picking one or two of them next year and calling it a year. They have one on World War II and World War I, and I thought about doing that. Yet luckily, this one was laid out so nicely, but we did just designate a day at the end. And I was like, all right, today we put together the lap book. So what you did is at the end of each of the lessons, you made the pieces of the lap book, and then you saved them till the end. So I just had a little folder where we slipped them all in, and at the end, we put it all together. And yeah, if your kids don't like them, I think if you overdo them, that's the concern. Like, don't overdo them. One a year, I think, is plenty. We hadn't done lap books for 2 years, and I think that's why my kids were so engaged, because they hadn't done one for so long. And then we save them because they like to look back. I've showed this before, but I'll show it again in case you missed it. If you take packing tape and fold it over the corners here, then you can hole punch this just like that, and then you can put it in a binder, and you can save their lap books, because you spend so much time doing these that you don't want to, the kids don't want to hole punch on the folder, but then the hole punch is through the packing tape. Thank you, Jenny. So that's very nice of you. So that's how. And I think that's everything we do in first grade. I mean, we have a lot of little stuff we do here and there. You know, we have lots of reading, but that's the main stuff. Play, reading, and math. We do math. I was a math teacher, and I was going to forget to mention math. I will be honest. I was a math teacher. I do math fairly traditionally. There are so many people out there, I know, math, what's that? That are better at doing math in elementary school, creative math, living books math. I am not good at that. It is one of the things this summer I would like to reconsider. Maybe having every 6 weeks, like a fun math week where we try to do more real, diving into math investigations. It's just not something I've been good at. We use Singapore. Singapore, except for my 5th grade daughter, which I can talk about when I do the 5th grade, we use Beast Academy. But Singapore gets the job done. It's very straightforward. You will notice some things that I would just point out that I actually do for any of my children until they stop asking is sometimes I do the writing for them. So on this particular day, he kind of was like, do I have to write the numbers? And I said, no, you don't have to write the numbers. Just tell me the answer and I will do the writing for you. Because, of course, the point is that he knows the math, not always the writing. And I am confident he can write his numbers and his handwriting book will take care of that. So I just point out, for my little ones especially, though, honestly, if any of my children said, would you write the numbers for me? I would. My 13-year-old would never ask me. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of my writing. And then there's days that I don't feel like writing and he doesn't feel like writing. So we just say the answers and I put a big check on the page so that I know that we did that page. So, they do grow out of that. I remember being so worried when my kids were little, if I write for them, they'll always want me to. No, they won't. In their own time, they will grow out of it. And yeah, and definitely if you have a kid struggling with dysgraphia, dyslexia, especially in the math area, do the writing for them. I always tell my kids, if you're not good and you hate the writing, you can just buy one of those programs one day and talk and it'll do the writing for you, or you can hire a transcriptionist one day. Don't worry about the writing. So that's what happens. But other than that, we do Singapore. I do own a ton of math manipulatives. So we'll pull out pattern blocks and base 10 blocks and tangrams, and we'll just play with those things. And sometimes I do get math books from the library. And no, I don't. there's my confession. No foreign language. I owned Song School Latin and played around with it when we were in CC. And I've tried to do Song School Latin with my younger kids, and I finally gave up. I tried to do Latin with my oldest, and I finally gave up. Foreign language does not come easy to me. I don't have any kids begging to do it, though my daughter will be in 8th grade next year, and I do own the Rosetta Stone Spanish, and I am going to go ahead and put the nose to the grindstone and get the foreign language. But honestly, if you can do it in the younger years, it is fantastic. They learn it so fast. It's just not been something that apparently, as much as I thought it was important to me, it must not have been, because it kept getting pushed aside. But we did listen to Latin chants in the car and stuff like that. But no foreign language for the first grader. No foreign language for any of the kids this year. Yeah, I tried making it fun. And this Song School Latin, at least, you could pop in the car and listen to it. And last year we did Latin with children, and that had chant CDs we would listen to in the car. And I do now own the Rosetta Stone Spanish. I actually won it online, so I haven't really looked at it. I don't know what age you could start with it. Earlier, you might have to sit with them because it's a computer program, so you might have to help with some of the computer stuff. But I'm going to start it next year with my 8th grader. And at this point, she has enough computer skills. I don't think I'll have to be a part of it at all. I'm hoping she can plug in her headphones and just go. But we'll see. All right, are there any other questions? Here's the first grader. You want to say hi?
Hello.
Show what you're playing with. This is what first grade looks like. It looks like weapons in this house.
I'm going to use this later today.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, I am going to go ahead and go have some fun with them. Oh, good. I'm really glad to hear this. I may put it out there for my 6th grader, too, if she wants to play with it. Yeah, boy, I know, the sword. How long is he actually sitting and working? That's a really good question. I would say this gets done in less than 10 minutes. There's 3 books I consider seat work. This gets done in less than 10 minutes. This probably also gets done in less than 10 minutes. And this gets done in probably about 5. So right there you have under 25 minutes, and you've done math, spelling, writing, and some more writing. Now, a lot of days we don't do both of these, because if there was a lot of writing in this one, not a lot of writing, then we don't do this one. So that could be done right there in 15 to 20 minutes. And then the only other thing I have to add with him is some reading, which could look like a page in here. It could look like sitting with him together and letting him read me a page here, and then I read him a page. So reading could look really different. And some days we don't do any phonics. He just, I'm reading out loud from history, and he's just listening and to Harry Potter. So you're welcome. So I would say no more than 30 minutes of seat work on any given day sitting with me. Sometimes it's less, but it's never more. I mean, he does listen to history and science, but I wouldn't count that as like seat work, because a lot of times I read to them at lunch, or he sits and plays blocks while I'm reading. That's a huge thing. I didn't mention that. But when I'm reading out loud, this book, he listens to our arrow titles. So we did Understood Betsy last month, and he listens. But the way my room is set up, see behind me that I put no furniture in the front of the house. So see the marbles out right there? That's like what they will do while I'm reading, is I can sit at this table and they can play marbles, play blocks, play kinetic sand. They've gotten into the adult coloring pages that are really detailed, and they do that kind of thing. So I wouldn't count that as seat work, listening to reading. So that was all. I hope I answered that question. I kind of got sidetracked. So those 3 things plus phonics, less than a half hour. All right. I'm glad this was helpful. I will hopefully do, you are welcome, guys, and I will hopefully do the 3rd grader and what he is doing tomorrow or Wednesday. It's hard for me to schedule because, it's like life. So you are welcome, guys. Good luck with your planning and what you're doing at home. It's fun to be back in the scoping world. I've kind of been on a little break, and it's fun to be back with everyone. Yay! All right. Bye, guys. I'll see you around. Oh, I don't like to end on my face. So let me bring up my blog again, and I will end looking at my blog. So this is where you can find me, notbefore7.com. And today we went over what does first grade look like in our home. Bye, guys.